This is Towning Around, and I am Jessica Spencer. So what's towning around, you might ask? Well, to put it briefly, it's the art of being a townie without any of the negative connotation. I was born and raised in New Rochelle, New York, and never thought there was anything fun to do, especially on the weekends. In Westchester County, in Hudson Valley, in New York, for example. But the point is, I just wasn't looking. There is ridiculous stuff to do in our area, and we're going to check it out together. For example, on this first show, Sam and I had the pleasure of checking out Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, learning about all of their evening spooky cemetery tours, as well as their daytime cemetery tours. We also went to Muscute Farms, learned about all of the baby animals and the cool workshops they've got going on there. And then to wrap it up, we checked out Grand Prix New York, a fully loaded racetrack where I drove a Sodi kart, which was unbelievable. And don't worry, if you don't catch some of the information that I'm saying, it'll be all on www.jessicaspencer.com/towningaround for you to check out. Now, the first thing we did this week was we went over to Sleepy Hollow, met with Dave Logan, and learned all about the stuff they've got going over there. Have a look. Here we are at the Old Dutch Church Cemetery and the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. This 90-acre cemetery is home to some famous and infamous characters. Of course, the Rockefellers, Elizabeth Arden, and the very well-known Washington Irving of Sleepy Hollow fame. I'm here with board member Dave Logan, who's going to give me a little tour today. How are you, Dave?
Oh, just fine, thank you.
He is organizer of the Sleepy Hollow Day Lantern and Evening Lantern Walks. Some are pretty spooky, if you tell me that, right?
Oh, yes.
I'm ready, but I'm going to have to take a day walk because I'm way too much of a ninny for the evening walks. So here we are at Washington Irving's grave. What can you tell me about Washington Irving?
Well, Washington Irving naturally was named after the great General George Washington. He was born just after the Revolutionary War. And his nanny, when he was 5 or 6 years old, took him out in the great city of New York where he lived. One of the days that George Washington was going to be visiting. And the nanny walked up to the great general and said to him, "This little lad is named after you." And it is said that George Washington leaned down, patted Washington Irving on the head, and said, "You'll go far, lad." Washington Irving named this section of the country Sleepy Hollow. Particularly down in front of me lies the Old Dutch Church and the old burial ground. And it is a known fact that when Washington Irving, during the War of 1812, served with the U.S. Army, and one of his Army buddies' names was actually Ichabod Crane.
This is the receiving tomb. Some of the tourists get to come in here. This spooky resting place is one of the great attractions of the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, and Dave is going to let me in.
This receiving tomb was built to store bodies in the dead of winter. Sorry about the pun. In the dead of winter, when the ground was frozen 18 inches or more, and they could not do a number of burials by hand, they would store the caskets in here, and in the springtime, when the ground loosened up, they could do burials. This is what they looked like, the crypts, and we usually do not have any residents in here, except in the wintertime. We have some little brown bats that hang from the ceiling, hibernating.
This is the Bronze Lady, otherwise known as Recueillement. Dave, what can you tell me about this one?
This statue was erected by Mrs. Samuel Thomas. Samuel Thomas was a general during the Civil War. When he died in about 1903, Mrs. Thomas had this commissioned by a very famous sculptor. And there is a story, actually it's a rite of passage, that the people in formerly North Tarrytown, now known as Sleepy Hollow, tell. It goes like this. Before you graduate from the high school, you need to sneak into Sleepy Hollow at midnight, climb up the hill. Let me hold this if you want to do this. Do you? They climb up the hill, climb up into her lap, kiss her, slap her face, jump down, kick her in the shins, and then run over to the door, and I'll finish when you accomplish what I've just said.
All right, I take your bet. Here we go. Me and my best friend. In the shins, right?
Right.
Oh!
Very good. Lift the keyhole, and what do you see at midnight in there? Nothing, right?
I can't even tell you. It's too horrible to imagine.
Pound 3 times on the door, then run like crazy.
See ya.
Otherwise, grief, which is basically the name of the statue, will follow you for the rest of your life.
For all of the Saturdays in May, you can enjoy this awesome 2-hour tour that spans most of the 90 acres of Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. It's a walking tour, so bring some good shoes. Right now, we're at the Headless Horseman's Bridge, which I think is absolutely fabulous and beautiful. If you want to do this, no sweat, just make a reservation. It's a $15 donation to Sleepy Hollow Cemetery for the afternoon tours for chickens like me, and a $20 donation if you're going to do the evening lantern tours. Bring a flashlight for that and a lot of courage. Now, if you want to go ahead and make a reservation, sleepyhollowcemetery.org is the place to do it. And Dave, you'll tell me the telephone number to get in contact?
Sure, the telephone number for the cemetery is 914-631-0081.
And Dave tells me that if we listen closely, we can hear the sound of the horse that goes across the Headless Horseman Bridge. So that was Sleepy Hollow, New York. That was pretty fun, don't you think?
It was ridiculous. What I liked about Dave was that he somehow managed to maintain a sense of humor while working in a cemetery for basically all his life. He knew something about every single person in that cemetery.
I know, and all of the different types of stones they had. A zinky, he called one of them, because it was made out of zinc or something like that. And just the night before, they were filming a movie there, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, he told me they, you know the ones with the big orbs on them, the tombstone? He insisted that every single one that had an orb was an ex-bowler.
I fell for that the first time he told me
Yes.
that. I know,
Yes.
I know. Well, you know, you also can bring your dog there if you want to just go for a regular walk, but you have to bring it on a leash. He's very adamant about the leash.
I thought you meant after you had to put the dog down. You could.
No, it's not a pet
What
cemetery.
kind of show is this?
No, definitely not. But you know, it's open daily from 10 to 4:30 when the gates close, and you can just go and enjoy. It's scenic, and it's really beautiful. There's water views. Brooke Astor is there. Who doesn't want to hang out with Brooke Astor?
Well, of course not.
Well, I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad you did too.
It's somehow scenic and creepy at the same time.
Yes, definitely, but in a good way.
Of course.